Hello there, good people. Welcome. My name is Marco and I'm a full stack developer. And in this video, I want to propose a project that is ideal for this time of year. And that is a New Year's Eve countdown. Now, a countdown is a pretty simple object. You just have an end date. In this case, it's going to be New Year's Eve. And basically, the countdown shows you how much time remains until that date in terms of days, hours, minutes, and seconds. To make these projects, I'm going to use ReactJS. Now, I know that can be seen as overkill, but it's good when you're learning, especially, to start from simple things. As you will see in this project, I'm gonna go over basically all the fundamental stuff React has. So hooks, states, and components. For now, I'm not gonna think about styling because that is not the point of this project. But if you wanted to see the code base, I'll upload the entire project on GitHub. So just make sure to visit the page. One last thing I want to say is that on this channel, I will start a new series of beginner and mid-level projects, basically made with React. And if there was something that you'd like to see developed in React, of course, in that beginner to mid range, just let me know in the comments below. And also, not to miss a single episode, don't forget to subscribe. Okay, this being said, let's count down. Okay, as I said, a very simple project with React, and everything starts in the folder that I've created, NYE countdown, and inside here I just run the command npx create react app, and then dot to indicate the current folder. I'm not gonna do that because it takes a while and I've already done it, but basically at the end, what you should have is this basic structure right on the left. So as you can see, we got the node modules, which are the dependencies and packages for the project, the public where basically the index.html is hosted, and the main folder is the src. This is what you want to, act upon. And as you can see, there are quite a lot of files, but in this case, I want to keep this thing simple and just focus on two main files. So the index.js, this is basically the main entry point for a React app. And I'm not going to change anything. You don't need to change anything. This is basically where the browser is going to look for the main JavaScript and where React is going to do its magic. What I need here is the app.js, which is going to be the main component and the only component. I'm not going to think about components, creating new components. So everything will be in this file. So super simple, super clean. And the main styling will come from this CSS file, app.css. Now you can see that everything, there are quite a few things. And this is the boilerplate React app. And if I do an npm start, and this is used to spin up basically a development server so that I can see everything that I'm doing in React. And this is the boilerplate React app. Maybe I'll zoom in. I'm not. Good. From this, I need to create something else. Now, we can stop it. Actually, we can keep it. Now, there are a few files that I don't need. First of all, I don't like this styling, so I'm just gonna get rid of this and save. In the app.js, I don't need all of this, so I'm just gonna provide something myself. A div like this, and hello there, just to see if everything works. I don't need this logo, so I'm not even gonna import it, but I did React in this file and it imports it itself. Okay, then this app test, I really don't need this. You can move it to trash. This index, we don't really need it, so I'm gonna delete it. Okay, the index.js, yes. And if I go here, I have this import statement doesn't work. And this one as well, I don't need it. And I can even get rid of this. Save, and I can get rid of these two files. And this is just a basic cleanup for things that I'm not really gonna use. Okay, now we should be good to go. And as you can see, hell there. Well, That's a nice message. Hello there. Better. Yeah, that's a more comforting message. Okay. We can start with our application. So the main focus for this project is definitely not the styling. So you'll excuse me, but I basically already written all the style that I need for this project. And if you want to find it, you can definitely find it on my GitHub page. I'll upload all the code from this project, and so that you can see the styling. But basically, you can style it in any way you want. The sky is the limit. Your creativity can really, space out a lot. So right now, I'm in my app.js file, and this is my main component. And what I like to do, in this case, is to give it a class. And in React, you use the class name, because class is a reserved keyword in JavaScript, of container. And this is going to be my container. Inside here, I'm going to have everything that I need. So what do I need first? Well, the structure is going to be very simple. I'm going to have a div, and inside this div, I'm going to have two spans, like this. The first span is going to be, let's say, the number of days, and this is going to be what it actually is. Now, this structure is basically going to be repeated for 4 times. So the days, the hours, the minutes, and the seconds. Now you can go even further. I don't recommend that, because you need to basically refresh the page every time you change a number, and refresh it every second is okay. Refresh it every hundredth of a second is, or maybe tenth of a second. Well, so now I'm gonna use some utility classes. If I save it and I go in my file, you can see that the styling is coming through. This is my app.css file, and I have some basic stuff here. Now, what I want to do is give it some utility classes that I have created, and this is flex, because it's going to be a display of flex. This is going to be a utility class of font big, because it's going to be a little bit bigger. And this is going to be a font small. And just like this, I should have something that looks like this, which is a little bit, cooler in my opinion. Now, as I said, this pattern right here will be repeated 4 times. But instead of the days, I will have the hours, I will have the minutes, capital letters, and seconds. Okay, and the countdown should look something like this. Of course, we're gonna have something different here, but hey, for now, it's cool. Okay, now that I've done that, basically the HTML is done. Now I need to think about the logic. And the logic is pretty straightforward. So let's create a global variable, and I'm gonna call it New Year's Eve. And this is going to be a date object. And in a date object, I can initialize it with just the date, basically. And it's gonna be 2021. It's gonna be the month, the index of the month, which is 11, because the indexing starts from 0. So December is the 11th month. The day, which is 31st, and then hour, then minutes, and then seconds. So basically this is midnight of the 31st of December, New Year's Eve. Now that I have this, and pay attention because this is a date object, so now I can do some basic calculation based upon that. I'm gonna create a function, and I'm gonna call it getTimeDelta. This is gonna be an arrow function. It doesn't take any parameters because I don't need it. And the first thing I wanna do is, every time I run this, I want to grab the current time, so the now, and you do it initializing a new date object. If you leave it empty like this, you're gonna get the current time. Now that I have this, I can calculate my time delta, because I got 2 date objects, and I can simply do it like this: New Year's Eve dot get time minus now dot get time. And this will give me the time difference between these 2 events, these 2 dates. But there is some parsing to do, some calculation to do, because we need the difference in days. Okay, we need the difference. No, the last one we don't need it. We need the difference in hours, and we also need the difference in minutes and seconds. Beautiful. So the difference in days. So let's think about it for a second, because then the logic will be basically the same for all of them. Now, of course, I have my time delta, and I need to divide it for something. So let's say that I have each day is 24 hours. So I just eliminate the hours times every hour is 60 minutes and every minute is 60 seconds. So basically right here I have the number of days, but the getTime method from the date object returns a number in milliseconds, and I need to account for that. So I need to multiply for 1,000 to get the actual seconds, because otherwise I'll get something that is 1,000 times bigger. And well, that is not a negligible error, so I need to account for that. Okay, so right here I have the number of days that that remains until New Year's Eve. There is a problem with this, and that is that it's going to take something, and it's going to give me something like dot and then decimal point, and I don't want that. So I want to use the floor method, which is just going to be like, give me, if it's 5.8, let's say, it's going to be 5. You're going to floor it. Every number, every decimal number, you're going to return an integer number. Now, the logic in the hours works a little bit differently, but not so much. I always want to floor it because I don't want decimal number in my dates. If it's like 5 days and 43, it doesn't mean anything. Right here, what I want to do is something a little bit different, as I said, because if I just follow this example and I copy paste this. Now this is quite simple. Of course, we don't need the hours because we're calculating the hours. If I did this, it would be a little bit, it would be wrong. It's not correct at all. Why? Well, because basically I'm taking the whole time delta and I'm just I'm just counting the hours for this count delta. The fact is that I've already counted the days. So basically I'm just using the same time delta to even calculate the hours. So basically I am adding things to the counter, and that's not correct. So what I need to do, I need to divide into hours what is left after dividing this whole thing. So what I can do is use the modulo operator. The modulo operator is basically a division, but instead of giving you the result of the division, it gives you what remains of that divisions. And that is the correct way to do it. So I just do a time delta, then modulo, and I just do this exact same thing here. So basically this gives me what remains of this. Then what remains, I can get the hours of that remaining part. Why? Because if it didn't remain, okay, I would have a day, an entire day. Instead, I get the hours like this. And this logic is the same for the minutes. So I'm gonna just use it in the minutes. Met.floor. Maybe I already done that. Yeah, I already done that. Good. And the seconds as well. Okay. Of course, here I don't need the minutes. Right here, no, not right here. So I got the remaining of this calculation. But here I don't need the hours. And here I got the remaining from this calculation, which is this. Okay. And just divide it by 1,000 because I got milliseconds and I want to get seconds, which is divided 1,000. And then what I do is I return an object, and this object will return days, hours, minutes, and seconds. If I save it, well, look at this, beautiful. So this is going to be my main utility function, let's say, this is what it will guarantee me. This is what we get all the time, the delta, the difference between New Year's Eve and the current time. Now I can think about the component and how do I want to, think about this. So React is very powerful for something that is called state. Basically, state is what are the data that I have available. And this state right here can be accessed via a hook called useState. So for instance, right here, I want to create a state which is countdown. And this is going to be an object with all the different things. And I'm going to use the useState. And if you initialize it like this, you're basically saying the state is just an empty object. It's just empty. It's nothing right now. And this is the function that is going to change the state. And you want to always change the state via this function. Why? Because if you don't, you're not going to trigger a re-render of your page. And so you're not going to see the changes on the actual page. So now that I have my countdown, I want to use another hook, which is called useEffect. You're going to see these two hooks used like in conjunction very often. And useEffect is basically a very powerful hook that runs as soon as the component is loaded, is mounted. This is I think the technical term. So what do I want to load as soon as the page loads? Well, I want to get the time delta. But the fact is that I want to run this function every second so that I get an update every second. And how can I do that? Well, I just set an interval. So what I can do is just set an interval. And I can set it like this. Set interval. This takes a function. It's a bit of nesting, but hopefully you can understand it. And I'm gonna say that my time delta, this is basically the function that I'm running inside the interval. And this is the get time delta. This is gonna return the object. And I'm gonna use this to change my countdown. Now my countdown would be equal to the time delta. So I'm gonna have days, the hours, the minutes, and the seconds. Now I need to specify inside this outside this function how long the interval would be, and it's gonna be 1000 milliseconds. So 1 second. And outside, so basically this function, you can see the color brackets. This function closes right here. Outside, but always inside the useEffect, I want to return a function. And what function am I going to return? I'm going to return the clear interval. Because like this, I'm not going to generate like countless intervals. Because when you use a return statement, when you return a function in the useEffect, you're basically utilizing a method that is basically a dismounting event. So every time this finishes running, it dismounts it. So basically you not have the interval, but every time it runs, it's going to generate a new one. And it's a way not to clutter the let's call it event loop for now. So now I have my function that runs when the component is rendered. It runs every second and it populates the countdown. So what I need to do here is just get access to that countdown. Square brackets, this is curly braces, sorry. And you use that to access the JavaScript, not the HTML, to indicate to React that now you're typing in JavaScript. I have access to the countdown and I call it days. So here it's going to be the days. Here it's going to be the hours. Here is going to be the minutes. Have I done something wrong? I definitely did. What have I done? Okay, I mean, it's here. Minutes. Okay, and this is... Why do you do that? Oh, I get it. Countdown.seconds. Okay. Now, if I take a look at the page, it shouldn't work for one particular reason. Let's see. Okay, as you can see right here, I don't have anything. But if I inspect this, and I look at the console, I don't know if you can read it, but basically it's saying that it cannot read a property of this thing, which is the days property. So basically what it's saying is that it cannot read this. Now, why is that? Well, basically the set countdown, okay, is setting the state of this countdown, but it's doing it, let's say, asynchronously. So it takes a bit of time. So when the component renders, this countdown is basically empty. It doesn't have the days, the hours, and the minutes. It takes a bit of time. And so if it goes here, it doesn't find the days, and it gives you an error. It says, look, there are no days inside. There are no days inside this object. So what are you asking? So what I want to do, what I like to do in these cases, is set a loading property. This is going to be another state, but this time I'm going to initialize it, and this is going to be true. So the default value of loading is going to be true. And what I can do here, when I set the countdown, I can even set the loading. To set the loading, I'm going to set it to false. And outside, I can provide a conditional rendering. So if loading, I'm just going to return, and this is very important because I want to exit out of the component. And I'm just going to render, let's say, an H1. Well, is it? Okay. And this is going to say loading. Just like this. Now, if I do this, it should work. And if I look at it, it works. Nice. Okay, this was an error. New Year's Eve get time. Yeah. So basically in here, where you specify the New Year's Eve, you need to specify a new, you need to use the constructor. You're constructing a new date object. So that's okay. But now if I reload this, it shows loading, and then 1 second after I got my states. And this is actually correct, you know, 4 days, 12 hours, 30 minutes, and the seconds, which is, today is the 26th, and it's like, yeah, almost midday. Yeah, it's kind of it's reliable. Now, what do I want to do? Basically, the countdown is done. What I want to do is one more thing, which is, let's say, just a little adjustment. I want to specify that is new year, because I want this countdown to just stop when it's new year, you know. It's going to be of any use, and it's going to give you like negative numbers or something. So inside this function, what I want to do is I also want to basically see the delta. So if time delta dot seconds, and I need to do this because the time delta is an object, so I need to access to something inside, and the first thing is the object. The first thing is the seconds. Is smaller than 0, so basically I'm getting negative numbers now because the date is past New Year's Eve. What I want to do is to set is new year to true. This is going to change the state, and if that is true, I want to display it. If is new year, I'm not going to return the component, I'm not going to return the counter, I'm going to return something else. I can return Happy New Year. Yoo-hoo! 2022, guys. We made it. And I can even put something like, let's see, something like this. I like it. Yeah, why not? Nice. And just like this, we're not going to see it for sure, like this. But if I put this as true, I should see something. So this is basically what you see when the countdown is finished. I think this is all for this video. I hope you like this. As I said, it's a very simple project, but you know, it's something that you can work with, and this is the joy that programming gives you. You can provide a countdown for yourself, for your family. Honestly, I wish you all guys Happy New Year, and if you like this video, please leave a like, and don't forget to subscribe, because 2022 is going to be absolutely amazing. This being said, I hope to see you at the next one. Have a good one. Ciao.